Hey, how's it going? How's everybody doing? Um, every once in a while or once a month, or I go through these things where I'll watch a certain type of film. I'm obviously a cinephile, not just a beer drinker and taster and that sort of thing, but I do watch a lot of movies. This month I'm focusing on gangster films. Just fix my pants. There. Focusing on gangster films and such. I'm gonna all month long. I'm gonna be watching some. I've only watched a couple so far. I just because some of us work for a living. It's kind of how it is. But I was originally gonna do Angels with Dirty Faces from 1932. I believe. I think it's 1932 with James Cagney, Pat O'Brien, Humphrey Bogart before anyone knew what a Humphrey Bogart would eventually become. But excellent film, and I will probably do that. But then I watched Goodfellas, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna talk about Goodfellas because this is a masterpiece of a movie. This is I would almost put that in the category of a flawless film. Now, there's so many things about this film that make it so good, and a lot of it, for the most part, is it's plot driven. It's not a lot of there are violent scenes. It's a 2.5 hour runtime, but compared to other movies that have come before and since, it's not all about just shooting people and everything else. I'll use Scarface as an example, the remake that everyone's familiar with Al Pacino. Um, that is an incredibly good film. I really like it. Even the original with Paul Muni back in the day is 19. That one I know came out in 1932, and that is an incredible film. I love that movie. Both of them I can watch and not never be bored. But what this film has that those films lack, well, maybe not. Not so much going to talk about the original, but in terms, say, from the 1970s to modern times, that this film has that a lot of films don't. Is it's very plot driven. It's very character driven. It doesn't have tons of just shooting people and glorifying the violence. It does borderline glorify mob life until the end of the film. Of course, there's going to be spoilers in this. But if you're watching this, there's a good chance you've probably seen the film anyway, because most people have. It's that good of a film that most people have seen it. But it is plot driven more than it's action and violence driven. You get to know the characters. You get to actually feel some sort of emotion with the characters, or whether it's like Tommy, for example, with Joe Pesci. He's like screwy. He's a scary character. Now I know this is based on a real event, and I know that Henry Hill was a real guy, and I know, generally speaking, the events of the film there's artistic liberties being taken because it's a 2.5 hour runtime talking about 3 decades of a person's life. So there's gonna be exaggerations, gonna be changes made just to keep the film going and make it a movie, right? That's just how it is. It's not a documentary. It's a biopic essentially. But you do get to know the characters. Like I said, Tommy was off the wall. He was just he's the kind of guy you don't want to be in the room with because you never know what he's going to do. But you do like seeing him on screen. He's basically the action part of the film. Then of course you got Paul Sorvino, who plays Paul. Paulie, the mob boss. Like, he's the boss of pretty much everything, and he owns that role. I've seen him in other things, and he's a good actor, but in that role, he was actually apprehensive to do it in the beginning. He had to. I saw an interview where he was talking about he's looking in the mirror, trying to get this intimidating, emotionless kind of boss face, and he was doing it. And finally he got the face, and he even said the face itself, his lips a little bit bright. The face itself the expression he came up with actually kind of scared him a little bit, that he could make that face look so serious and so angry without looking angry. and that was what that's what Scorsese, I guess, wanted, and it is a Scorsese film. So once you see Scorsese written across anything, you know it's going to be a great movie. So that also gives it away that this is a good film. But he made that face, and he said, "Wow, I've never seen myself look like that before," and that's the face he's using mostly in the movie when he's pissed off or he's got something serious to say. He doesn't have a ton of screen time, but whenever he's on the screen, you know he's the boss. Not because he's the older guy or anything like that. It's just that look that, you know, I'm in charge, and he owns that. Then, of course, you got Robert De Niro as Jimmy, and he's a good character because he's not the violent character, but he's intimidating enough that you're just like, what's he going to do next? What's he going to do? And you want to watch what he's going to do. Is he gonna turn on this guy? He comes in all smiley, and then like Henry Hill says, he goes, "You never know. They come at you as friends, shake your hand, have a good time, and then when that's how it's done. It's not a lot of yelling and screaming, and that's Robert De Niro's character as Jimmy, and he just has that, especially at the end of the film. Ray Liotta recently passed away, sadly, but great actor, obviously. Everybody in this film is actually a really good actor, so it's perfectly casted. But he says at the end of the film, if I go, I think he was being sent to Florida to do a hit, supposedly, and he said, I knew I wasn't coming back alive. Now, don't get me wrong. Mob guys, they're scary, they're dangerous. It's not something, I don't endorse violence and crime or anything like that. It is a good movie and it's based on a true story. I'm not saying Henry Hill was a good guy, because at the end he did rat everybody out to save his own ass. But, not my life, not my problem. But the film itself is just a perfect film. Lorraine Bracco is amazing in this movie. She's got like all the emotional range. Like she's in love, she's angry, she's jealous, she's scared. Like all the emotions. The scene where she puts the gun to Henry's head in the bed, like she's pointing the gun at him, and he's like, put down the gun. And the scene goes on longer than you realize. If you've seen the film, it seems like it's a quick scene, but when you actually sit there and watch it goes on for a few minutes, and he's just, put down the gun, calm down, put down the gun. And then once the gun's away, and then he reacts, and then she flips it from being like, I'm in charge, I'm sorry. She's scared. He's gone. He's already left the room. And I don't think his character, he would ever actually hurt her or anything like that. But it was more like, you're going to point a fucking gun at me and everything I've done and blah, 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 blah. She just flips that so perfectly. Like her emotion, she's incredible in this film. She's a great actor anyway. The only thing I can think of that pops into my head off the top of my head of what she's been in, I always think of Medicine Man with Sean Connery, where she's a completely different character, and she's amazing in that film too. And you got Frank Vincent. I had to look down for that one because I couldn't remember his name, as Billy Bats. He's so good. The interaction between him and Joe Pesci, get your fucking shoes shined, box. And he's, you fucking mutt. And then he leave, and they come back, and they of course they whack him, and that really changes the tone of the film in a lot of ways, because that was just such a major thing. And it starts off very strong too, with Billy Bats in the trunk of the car. Spoiler alert, but like I said, you've probably already seen this film anyway. But again, it's a perfect film. I love this movie. Sam Jackson's in it. Samuel L. Jackson, because I wrote it down as Sam Jack, just to remember to abbreviations, just remember to mention that he is in this film, a young Samuel Jackson, pre-Pulp Fiction, obviously. He only has a couple scenes. They're not memorable in the sense that it's Samuel Jackson, but the fact that Samuel Jackson is in this film, and his character just kind of is you can almost have the film without his character in it, but he is a good little character just for the few minutes of screen time. He doesn't really do a whole lot, but it's still a really shocking scene what happens to him in his apartment and stuff. It's a good it's a good scene, and I think that really, like, Samuel L. Jackson already done moves. I think he even has a small part in Exorcist 3, but I don't think he's credited for it. I think he's just somebody up front doing something. I can't remember. I read it somewhere. I haven't seen Exorcist 3 in a long time. But yeah, him as Stax, he's a great character. Not great character. He's a good character. He's not essential, but it's a good character, and really opened the door probably for him getting into the action films and becoming the motherfuck this and whatever, that we know him, because there's not a person in Hollywood that can say motherfucker better than Samuel L. Jackson, hands down. And I might be wrong, but I don't think there's anyone that could say those two words together as good as him. Anyway, what can I say? Before this film was made, I mean, gangster films, they were all about the action, the violence, the shooting, the blood. But then along came Martin Scorsese and puts his film together. Suddenly things changed forever. Action movies, also, you wanted to have characters, you want people to follow, you wanted to have an excitement. Sorry, that was me trying to do Ray Liotta as Henry Hill in the narration. It probably failed miserably, but I wanted to do it earlier and I just kind of chickened out. But yeah, check out Goodfellas. This is probably one of my favorite gangster films of all time. It's, like I said, I consider it like a flawless movie. It's so good, so entertaining. When you start watching it, you go to an action film or a mob film, a mafia movie, and expecting bang, 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 and blood and violence. You might go into this expecting it, and once you get so involved with the plot, the characters, the story, everything that's happening, you forget that it's that about all that violence. You're so focused on what's going to happen next, what's going to happen to the characters. Now, there is violence in the film. Don't get me wrong. It's not, it's still rated R. It's still a lot of swearing. Not up there with, Tony Montana level swearing, but generally speaking, it's the violence isn't really that much. It's so character driven, so plot driven, so story driven that you can't really get away from it. You don't want to turn it off. You want to watch the whole 2-hour runtime, and then when it's over, you're like, wow, that was a good film. And like, I saw it, and you talk to someone who hasn't seen it. Oh yeah, is it a lot of violence, a lot of shooting? They're like, no, not really. It's just a good movie. It's more of a drama than an action film, a biopic for sure. But yeah, check out Goodfellas. This is an excellent film, flawless, in my opinion. And I don't know what else I can say about that. So Goodfellas, Martin Scorsese, 1990, with Robert De Niro, Joe Pesci, Lorraine Bracco, Ray Liotta, of course, Paul Sorvini. Just a good action, not even action film, a good mafia drama movie. Check it out if you haven't seen it already, and I hope I didn't spoil too much for you if you haven't seen it. And for those who have, 9 people out of 10, I think, would agree that it is an excellent film. All right, so check that out, and subscribe anyway. The like thing, if you want to like it, that's great. But if you subscribe to me, that would be even better, because I really want to get that 1,000 subscribers going on. Still a bit of an uphill march, but hopefully it will happen, and when it does, I will be eternally happy I'm happy now with everybody, but that's subscribed to me. But let's get those numbers higher. If you could help me out, I would love that. Anyway, be safe, watch some good movies, and if you have any comments, you know where to post them. And I will, until the next one. Bye.